शेषा न भजिले ऋषिकेश भक्ति विनोदोपदेश एक बार नाम रसे मतोरे गाए गौर मधुर स्वरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा माता जी, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you for the beautiful Kirtan, Mataji. What a beautiful voice. And you
Thank you,
sang so
Mataji.
beautifully. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful
So let's
voice,
begin
Mataji.
with...
Very nicely done.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Let's begin with our prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Today we are going to start chapter 15. Before we begin, let's pay our obeisances to Sri Radha Govinda and Srila Prabhupada. The Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottama Yoga. Let's do summary of chapter 14. What did we learn in chapter 14? The three modes of material nature. This is what we learned. In the first four verses, the liberation and conditioning of the living entity. Whenever we use the term living entity, we should understand ourselves. We are living entities. And everything that we see, the animals, the flies and all these moving creatures, the trees, they're also living entities, but they cannot think like us. Our position is little different because we are actually sitting. We can actually understand how we are sitting and discussing Bhagavad Gita, which the animals cannot. So here, whenever we talk about, if we see living entity, we understand like, okay, the liberation and conditioning of who? Myself. So now, description of the binding of the pure soul by the three modes. That also we learned. Then from 10 to 13, recognizing the supremacy, a mode within a person. Supremacy of a mode. Then 14 to 18, actions and death within the modes. Then 19 to 27, transcending the modes. So we learned that the Lord impregnates all the living entities, all the jivas into the Prakriti, just by glancing. He impregnates the Prakriti. The Prakriti consists of the three modes of material nature. Now what happens is, we know the three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. There is always competition amongst these modes. One of them becomes prominent: mode of goodness, passion, or mode of ignorance. And that mode which is prominent will influence all our activities, everything, our destination, uh, whatever kind of body we will get in our next birth, that also it influences. So we have to transcend the three modes, and Krishna says we have to transcend. And how do we do that? By pure bhakti. And here in this chapter, in the next chapter, that is chapter 15, he will say we'll have to develop detachment to this world if we have to attach ourselves to Krishna. And then, Purushottama means the Supreme Person. Here, yoga in connection with the Supreme Person, not energy. Like, God is energy. This is the general notion. Like many people believe this. But here we are talking about Purushottama yoga, means energy. The source of energy is the energetic. So energy, God is not energy, he is a person. So in this chapter, Krishna will describe the process of detachment from the, from this material world, and how to transcend the modes and everything else also. We'll learn a lot. So this is a summary of chapter 15. Becoming detached from the material world and the reflection of the spiritual world in the first 5 verses. 6 to 11, transmigrations, Purushottama Yoga. 12 to 15, Krishna's position as the maintainer. He is giving lot of information about himself. And 16 to 20, the 3 shloka Bhagavad Gita summarizing the Vedas, the Vedanta kinds of living entities. So here he is going to tell us that it's a comparison actually. This material world is compared to an upside down banyan tree. It's an upside down banyan tree. It's like a reflection of the spiritual world. And we have to cut this tree with acts of detachment, surrender to Krishna. Because we are all fragmental parts and parcels of Krishna only. We're so entangled in this tree, we can't even see where the roots are. So in one of the verses, how do we find the root? That also is explained so beautifully. So we keep on transmigrating. We go from one branch to another. All this is because of our mind, material mind, and it's because of our own senses. That's why we are entangled in this world. So, and Krishna says he is the maintainer, he is the super soul. His position is different. He is Akshara, we are Kshara, we are fallible, he is infallible. Now, section A. Becoming detached from the material world, the reflection of the spiritual world. As long as we are attached to this, world, there is no possibility of liberation. Prabhupada writes that in the puppet. Who would like to recite this verse? First verse. Hare Krishna. Anjali Mataji has not joined today, I think.
Yeah, I have
I can
joined,
do,
but I have
Mataji.
joined
Oh, you are there,
from my
Mataji.
PC, I have joined from the PC, so there the password is of my husband's name is there. So that's why I can recite.
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Urdhvamulam Adashakam Ashwatham Prahuhu Avyayam Chandansi Yasya Parnani Yatama Veda Saveda Ved.
Please read the translation also, Mataji.
Yeah, on the PC I can't. Only
Okay.
one line is there. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. This is what I can see on the screen.
Okay. Can anyone else read the translation? Vinta Mataji, how about you, Mataji? Or Vanaja Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Preet Prabhu also is unmuted. Anyone?
Okay,
Hare Krishna,
I
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay, Mataji.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamulamadashakam Ashwattam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavit.
Can you read the translation also, Mataji?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said
It's okay, Mataji. Preet Prabhu has raised his hand. Prabhuji, can you read?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas."
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
So what is happening here is, after discussing the importance of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna said, how do we transcend the modes? He described Bhakti Yoga, it's so important. But what about the Vedas then? Vedic study, the purpose of Vedic study, and we have so many hymns, so much literature. What about all that? If we spoke about Bhakti Yoga, then what about all these? So here it is given. The purpose of Vedic study is also to understand the Lord only, to understand the absolute truth, to understand the cause of all causes, from which everything is emanated. Oh, sorry, I have muted you, Mataji. So a person what are Vedas meant for? The purpose of Vedic study is to understand the Lord only, to understand Krishna only. So a person who is already in Bhakti Yoga, who is following Krishna consciousness, who is in pure Krishna consciousness, he actually already knows Vedas, So for all these people who are engaged in fruitive activities and attached to this tree of the material, attached to this material world, there is actually no possibility. They'll constantly be in misery. And they'll keep on wandering, from which one branch to another. When we talk about branch, we'll understand what is a branch. And now let us start from the root. The roots of this tree begin from the topmost planet, which is Brahmaloka. It starts from there and it grows downwards. Okay. And all the Vedic hymns, they're all, they're all leaves. All the leaves that we see, they are compared to the Vedic hymns. And what are the Vedic hymns meant for? They are meant for elevating ourselves, actually. They're all meant for elevating ourselves. So if we really understand this tree, this upside down banyan tree, which is the tree of illusion, and it says it's an indestructible tree. If we can understand this tree, we can actually get out of this mess. We can actually get, disentangle ourselves. And this process, we must learn this process of extrication. How do we come out of this, escape this tree? Okay, let's learn more about this tree now. See here. Okay. Material world, upside down banyan tree. Material world is described as an upside down banyan tree. Why entire material world is compared to a banyan tree? For one engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to this banyan tree, which is very, very deep rooted. One wanders from one branch to another with no end. What is the purpose of hymns? To elevate ourselves gradually from material entanglement to spiritual world. See, that is the purpose of the Vedic hymns. But what is happening is people get very attracted to the fruitive activities. The purpose of Vedic study is to understand the Lord, but we are so much entangled in this fruitive activities. Today morning, if you heard the Bhagavatam class, they had played, it was Prabhupada's audio going on. Prabhupada was saying, in today's world, when you say Guru, a person will go to the Guru and say, I have this bodily ailment, give me a mantra. I have this problem in my business. I want to succeed. I want to make money. Give me a mantra. So they approach a guru for this. So this is all fruitive activities, right? So the purpose of Vedas is lost there. So that's what it means. Okay. So they all want to elevate. These Vedic hymns are meant for elevating ourselves. Why understand this tree of illusion? One who understands this indestructible tree of illusion can get out of this world, out of it by the sword of detachment. We have to cut this with the axe of detachment. What's the purpose of extrication? What is the process? The process is devotional service is the best way, as explained by all the chapters. Detachment from material activities and process of attachment by transcendental service. See this image here. Spiritual world, material world, and this perverted reflection. So the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activities, attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. That is the principle. Now this, where do we see a tree? Usually beside a reservoir of water. If there is a tree near water, you see its reflection on the other side. So that real tree is a spiritual world. That means this, whatever exact replica we see here, we see so much variety here, variegatedness. The same variegatedness exists in the spiritual world also. So people who think there is no variety, there is no emotion, there is no thoughts, there's nothing, you can just hang in there and feel peace and lose our identity and all this, that's not going to happen. Spiritual world is full of variety. And then this tree is actually, this world, material world is temporary, but the spiritual world is eternal. It always exists. And then here, one more thing we have to understand is, now from this root, which starts from the topmost planet, the whole universe expands. There are so many branches, and the branches represent different planetary systems. Like if you see the upper planetary systems, we'll find all higher forms of living entities. They are all demigods, Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas. They're very highly elevated beings. They are a little more elevated than us. Then lower branches represent the lower planetary systems, like animals, human beings, all other kind of living entities, a little lower than them. And what are the fruits, we see in this tree? The fruits are all dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Those are the results of our activities. Religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. These are the fruits of these trees. So let's go ahead and understand more. Chapter 15 refutes impersonalism, which says that spiritual world consists of undifferentiated Brahman only. It's not true, because here Krishna is saying it's a reflection, and we can see what all exists in this material world. And this is the reflection, then imagine what's on the other side. So what does it mean to know the Vedas? It means that one knows how to cut off the attachment to this material world. So if somebody has really studied Vedas, if actually he knows the Vedas, that means he actually knows how to cut off the attachment to this material world. So if that is not happening, that means he really doesn't know the Vedas. Even if a person says, I've actually read the Vedas, but he won't know if he doesn't know how to cut off the material attachment. So one who is attracted by ritualistic Vedic formulas, just now we discussed the fruitive activities, like I do this yagna because I want something else out of it. We want something. We want to gain something out of something. So those are all fruitive activities. So one who is attracted to those kind of rituals is just attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the banyan tree and does not know the purpose of Vedas. So how is this tree nourished? By the three modes of material nature. And there are other branches also, subsidiary branches. They all represent pious acts, impious acts, and all these branches are, like we discussed, the upper branches, lower branches. We are all jumping up and down and everywhere because of our own activities. Okay, what separates us from the material world? Material world is a tree nourished by three modes and fruitive acts. That's what is nourishing this material world. Different species manifest according to the proportions of modes. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water. Sometimes a tract is very green. Okay, that's why we call marginal potency, marginal energy. Similarly, where particular modes of material nature are proportionately greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested accordingly. See, if you want to cut off this relationship with this tree and get out of this material existence, we must understand this tree thoroughly. Prabhupada says, And how do we understand this tree thoroughly? Only by knowledge, by analytical study. This impersonalist, Jnanis, they do analytical study. They take Brahman as the root of the material tree. And from that root, they say, according to Sankhya philosophy, they say Prakriti, Purusha, the three gunas, all the gross elements, Pancha Mahabhuta, like earth, water, air, ether, and fire, and all the senses, everything originates from that Brahman. That's how they describe. So a person who actually studies, does a Sankhya, an analytical study, he can gather a lot of knowledge, and that will help him to extricate himself from this material world. So please read this translation, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, may I?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So secondary roots, we saw the roots. There are secondary roots which are fruitive activities, and the twigs are all compared to sense objects, and the what do you call that? The sound, form, touch, smell, taste, these are the sense objects. And the tips of the branches, they are the senses, like ears, nose, eyes, touch, all this, tongue. The tips are compared to the senses. The twigs are all sense objects. So actually, people are so attached to this enjoyment of different sense objects, and all this is because of different modes we are in. So if according to our modes, we develop our senses. That's what the purport says. So according to the mode we are in, we develop our senses and we enjoy the sense objects. See, our senses actually help us a lot. We always talk about sense gratification. Think about it. When we are actually focused on something, we are so engrossed doing something, suddenly we hear a loud noise, and we smell something burnt, or something, we might see fire. See, our senses are actually helping us to live in this world in a safe way, right? Even animals also, the moment they see danger, they run the other side. The senses are helping them. So in that way, God has equipped us in so many different ways. But what is happening is we have to use all the senses, no doubt, because we are more aware. Compared to our consciousness is different from the consciousness of animals. We have to engage our senses properly in the service of the Lord and for proper activities. But instead, what we are doing is we want to enjoy the sense objects. We get so engrossed in enjoying them that we get addicted to them. That is a problem. Then we are entangled. More and more we get entangled. And then lust will lead to so many different things. We saw that in the second chapter. Then there comes the fall down. Lust will lead to anger, and then we saw the process of falling down. So please read the translation, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I?
Sure, Mataji. Yes, Mataji, you can read the translation, Hare Krishna.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by
we
the
did this.
modes.
I think
Mataji,
we have to.
I not.
Yes, we'll go ahead. I'll read this one, don't worry. There's too much here. Thank you, Manuja Mataji. I'll go ahead and do this one. So this is a beautiful image. It gives us all the information about the banyan tree. The banyan tree, the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. You can find this image actually. It is on the web also. You will find it on the internet. And if you go through the recording, you'll come across this. So everything is given in a very nice way. See, nourishment, the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, they nourish this tree. Living entities hop from one branch to another, trying to taste the fruit. Up, down. We can't see how far the tree extends or where it ends, although living entities are eternal fragmental parts. We are separated from the Lord. So much information is given. The only way out is detachment. I'll mute. Sorry, there's some disturbance. Okay. The real root grows upwards, Brahmaloka, secondary root grows downwards, Bhuloka, attachment and everything is given. Then Vedic hymns are the leaves, twigs are sense objects, tips of branches are senses. So now what makes us separate from the spiritual world? Why are we separate, separated? That is the desire. See, that is what is separating us. We leave the spiritual world and come to this material world because of our desires. So that's what separates the spiritual world from the material world. You see, it's like a river, how nicely it's represented here. And why do we stay in this material world? Because we want to enjoy the branches. It is like saying, oh, if I take to Krishna consciousness, I cannot enjoy chocolate. So let me keep on eating chocolates. That kind of mentality. Or we have these 4 regulative principles, and there are some rules to be, if we want to progress, external cleanliness and internal cleanliness. We have to do some austerity. We have to pay some price if we want Krishna. If you want to go to the spiritual world, or if you want to come out of the miserable condition that we are in, we have to pay a price. But living in this, they don't want to. They are so much attached to this, and let me keep on enjoying, and then they keep on suffering. Also, you can see their face. Even the person who is retired from work, office is full of tension. Mataji was explaining one day, right? He's such a person also. The retired person also, there is no joy on his face. This material world is like that. But we want to enjoy. We want to, it's like the world belongs to the Lord. We think this human society owns the material world. This is the entire population, this earth. Oh, we own this world. We have to take care. We do this, that, this. We want to grab this property and enjoy, which does not belong to us. We are here for a very short while. So we use the world properly so that, everything provided to us is used as a offering to the Lord, used we use everything in our service for the Lord. So that should be our mentality. But what we are doing is we have this controlling mentality. We want to be the controller. We want to be independent of the Lord. And we think we are the proprietors. And we have little freedom. We misuse that freedom and suffer. Like Prabhuji was saying, why has Krishna created hells? He's very merciful. Still, he has created hellish planets because of our own, karmic accounts and our own problems. Because we are so much into all this, enjoy, and we're committing so many sins that we don't even know where we are going to go next. So if that happens, there comes a point where, we will be punished, obviously. So that is the problem. We are entangled here. We know we are suffering. Sometimes we don't know we are suffering also. We are all suffering. But when finally we face some sinful reaction, that time we'll start wondering why God is not, why is he not merciful towards me? What really did I do? So, but we don't understand everything that is happening to us is because of us only, our own mind, our own activities. So a devotee understands everything like that. If something, whatever, if that is not favorable, if situation is not favorable, he will think like, okay, this is the Lord's plan, and this is happening to me because of something, probably I deserve it. He looks at it like that. But when we look at somebody else's problem, obviously we cannot go and tell them, this is your karma. That is, no, we have to have a lot of compassion, lot of love, empathy, sympathy, everything. But this understanding is important that, why we are in this miserable condition. That's very important. Now, again, one more table here. Banyan tree, entanglement of the material world. Reflecting medium. Original tree is spiritual world. Material world is reflecting. Okay, nourishment again is the repetition. 3 modes of material nature. The roots. The real root of this material existence grows upwards. Topmost planet of the universe. Secondary roots are in the human planetary systems, Bhuloka, and grow downwards and spread in all directions. Subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. A devotee will not face, he'll be very neutral, like happiness, distress, success, failure. It doesn't bother him. But here, see, this attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of sufferings and sense enjoyment. Tendencies towards piety and impiety are considered to develop from these secondary roots. Branches, upper and lower planetary systems. Various manifestations, lower parts of branches are all these humans, horses, cows, dogs, etc. Upper are all these Gandharvas and many other higher species. Green leaves, Vedic hymns. It's like a revision, this table. Twigs, sense objects. Tips of branches, senses. Fruits, karma of jivas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Living entities, involvement. What do? Hop from one branch to another, trying to taste the fruit. Can't see how far the tree extends or where it ends. All the living entities are the eternal fragmental parts of Krishna. They're struggling with their senses. We go to higher planetary systems sometimes, enjoy nicely because of our pious activities, and then we come down to this earth, again renew our karma. Again, we do fruitive activities, get a promotion, go up. So, this planet of human beings, it is actually a field of activities. Who would like to read this one? Hare Krishna.
Can I read, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this tree with the weapon of detachment. So doing, one must seek that place from which, having once gone, one never returns, and their surrender to that supreme personality of Godhead from whom everything has begun and in whom everything is abiding since time immemorial. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So, like we read in the previous verse also, we actually don't know how far the tree extends and where the origin is. We cannot understand anything about the spiritual world so easily. Whatever we understand from the scriptures only. So if you have to find the cause, it is like this. Prabhupada explains in the purport. It's like I am a child, so I have a father, and my father has a father, and he had a father. So it goes on and on and on, and this is Sankhya. Like how Gnanis try to find the cause of everything. But they keep on searching, and it goes up to Brahma, father of the father of the father, who was the origin person who created all so many living entities, Brahma. So Brahma started everything. And then we go again, we further, if we go, we'll reach Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Like this, if we finally we keep on going on and on and on, we reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is the origin of everything. So we have to understand the origin of this tree. The origin of this real tree can be understood by this knowledge, by going back. And then we understand that he is the cause of all causes. Once that is clear, then it becomes easy to detach and actually attach ourselves to Krishna. So how do we learn the detachment to this material tree? The process is very simple. We have to detach ourselves only through scriptures, only by hearing from people who actually have this knowledge. It's like we go to school, we learn everything from a teacher. So just like that, a spiritual master like Prabhupada, who has actually gathered this knowledge from scriptural knowledge from an authentic source. Only from such a person we actually hear, gather this knowledge, and then gradually detach ourselves from this false reflection of reality. We'll understand what is what. That's the only way. Again, once in a while we get these slides for revision. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. Use the acts of detachment. The tree is not real, but a reflection of the real tree. It's like Prabhupada says, Prabhuji also in Bhagavatam classes 6 sometimes explains. It is like when a child goes and says, Mommy, I also want to cook. So the mother will give the child, 2-year-old, 3-year-old child cannot cook. So she will give toys. She says, yes, yes, sure, you can do it too. Take this little stove and, she gives some little dough that the baby will play with it and put it on the fake stove and, have, and after some time it gets bored and things like that. That's what is happening to us. We want to tell our father, I want to go from here and live on my own. I want to be the boss of something. But the father says, just like when a child is leaving home, we say, take water, take this, take your bag, don't forget your sweater, and don't forget your pens and pencils, whatever. We prepare our child to leave the house when the child is leaving the house, right? Whether it's going to school or wherever. Just like that, when we are leaving the spiritual world, separating from Krishna for our own desires, Krishna is very kind. You see, every animal is equipped properly. A dog's body, it has proper things. It has fur and it has sharp teeth to protect from enemies. Like that, it's very, very merciful. Krishna is very merciful. So it is us actually. We desire something and we separate ourselves. And then now, once we understand that, we are here and we're actually suffering, and we cannot understand this tree completely, all we can do is just cut down this tree with determination, with the acts of detachment, and actually go back home. Then one must go beyond the tree and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes? Because we just saw He's the origin. So He is the original Father. All these false attachments that we have to understand they are just false attachment. Our only relationship with is Krishna. Because of Him, we have other things. Why real form of tree cannot be understood? Because root is up and extension is at the other end. When we are entangled in material expansion, we cannot see how far it goes. Then how to find out the cause? Father, just like how we discussed just now. Krishna is end of the research work. When we research like this, we'll reach Krishna. How to search out the origin? From association of persons in knowledge. One who has knowledge only can give it to others. What are the benefits of this knowledge? Gradually become detached from false reflection, cut off this connection, actually become situated in the real tree. There are many examples of people with knowledge. Prahalad was born with this knowledge because we can see he was trying to give this knowledge to his friends at school. He was trying to change his father also, change his consciousness, but it did not work. Finally, Narasimhadev had to come. But he was the cause for his liberation also. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. It's the only way out of the tree. How? 15.4 says, find one in knowledge. 15.5 says, surrender to the Lord. It's very important. It says, okay, find one in knowledge. What is so simple? What is so complicated to understand? But if you go to the library or if just go into the market and see, there are all kind of gurus available. They'll confuse you even more. Prabhupada explains also, there are some people in the name of, they'll say, okay, I'll give you spiritual knowledge, but they confuse that person even more. That's happening. So we have to find an authentic guru. Surrender to the Lord, which is very, very important. 15.6, attain the eternal abode. So Krishna himself says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the origin of everything. So all the extensions we see. So, all these are expansions of Krishna. Krishna expands. Some are his personal expansions like Lord Narsimha, this Lord Rama. They're all personal expansions. There are Vishnu Tattvas. They're all Vishnu Tattvas. There are Vishnu Murtis in Vaikuntha planets. They're all his personal expansions. And we are all Jiva Tattvas. We are separated, fragmental parts and parcels of the Lord. We have our own identity, but our capacity or what we cannot compare ourselves with these higher authorities. It's like qualitatively we are same, quantitatively we are not. It's like one drop of ocean is not equal to the ocean, but we have all the qualities of the Lord. Okay, who would like to recite this verse? It's better. Okay, Preet, Hare Krishna. It's Mataji.
Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha Adhyatmanitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair sukha dukkha samnir gachanti amadaha padam avyayam tat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. When you see words like this, the tune changes. There is one document actually which gives this information. On Ekadashi, if you attend the chanting, recitation of Bhagavad Gita, you can hear how they chant. When it is like this, they chant differently. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha samne gachanti amuda padam avyayam tat. Like that. If you recite in that tune, it's easy to memorize also. Can you read the translation also, Hare Krishna?
Those who are free from the false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, the surrendering process is given here. The first qualification is we have to be free from false prestige, illusion, false association. Then what happens? Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from the dualities, happiness, distress, and all, and who unbewildered know how to surrender to the Supreme Person, attain to the eternal kingdom. So the first qualification is we should not be deluded by pride, because conditioned souls think I am like, I'm the boss. I have this, I have that, I own this. They become so puffed up with their qualifications. Our material qualifications make us very proud. And this pride is nothing but illusion. That's what Prabhupada explains. Because we are here for a very brief amount of time and we are so insignificant, we actually don't know anything. But we have this foolish notion that I am the lord of something. I can do anything I want. I just, believe in myself and I can do anything. All these kind of complicated thoughts and ideas come into them. And these are all very troublesome actually. The whole world is moving under this impression that, we can do anything. We are too much. But the real knowledge will actually open our eyes. We'll know how insignificant we are. Everything is running according to the Lord's plan. And only when we understand the Supreme Person is the proprietor, one who has realized this knowledge, he is the actual person with full, complete knowledge. Prabhupada explains in the purport. You can go to this shloka and read the purport. There is explaining that. Okay. Who will be able to surrender to the Supreme Person? Okay, nirmana. Nirmana means one who is free from false prestige. Such a person can surrender. Moha, freedom from illusion. Jita sanga dosha, freedom from false association. Adhyatma nitya, association is very, very important. Prabhuji keeps on stressing on this point. We can see how Duryodhana was associated with Shakuni and all the wrong people, and even Karna, he got a chance. He could have moved to Pandava's side, but he did not. We see Vibhishana's example. He gave up his brother's association and he understood Lord Ram was Lord himself and he took his shelter. Like that, association, to whom should we surrender? Where should we spend our energy? That's very important. Adhyatma Nitya, understand the eternal. Vandvair Vimukta, freedom from dualities. Vinivritta Kama, done with material lust and is unbewildered. Okay. Now next is section B. Here Krishna is going to talk about transmigrations and he also talks about his own abode. He says, this is my home. You see, this is how it is. He explains. Okay, sloka is there. Hare Krishna. Who would like to recite this one?
I will recite.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. नत्तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्कः न पावकः यद्गत्वा च निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. That supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Krishna is giving information about Goloka Vrindavana, his personal abode. He says it is self-luminous. In our universe, the sun is self-luminous. But all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. They don't need a moon or sun or fire, electricity, nothing. Okay, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord is enough. Even the Brahma Jyoti is actually the effulgence of the Lord. All this effulgence of these spiritual planets is all because of the Lord, and that is emanating from Goloka Vrindavana. It's all given in the puppet. So we have to understand it's material world, it is covered. The Mahatattva covers, and with our material eyes, we can't see Brahma Jyoti and beyond. It's not going to happen. And Prabhupada says our efforts to go to all the other planets in our material body and all, it's just a waste of time, because how far can you go actually? It is very, very difficult to actually travel in this body. Our life is also too short. So we have to understand everything from an authority and not waste our time. And once we understand this knowledge, then everything else falls into space. Science also we can understand to some extent, because science never talks about soul and super soul. So once we have this knowledge, it's easier. And when we really reach the spiritual sky, what happens is we get a spiritual body. We already are spiritual beings, but we can actually, enjoy eternal bliss, eternal life, a life full of knowledge. And then it's like we revive our spiritual body. It's more like reviving our own spiritual body. And then we can see Krishna God face to face. We can hear him. And then it is like, we are constantly in his association, an association of his intimate associates. So here you see in this image, this person, just by holding his Japamala and surrendering to the Lord, how easily is reaching Goloka Vrindavana. It is that easy. The process is very simple, but it is very difficult in Kali Yuga to take to this process, because people are so much into fruitive activities and all that. So hard for them to understand. Just Prabhuji says, just we have to start with one round of chanting, and it takes so many days for some people to start that one round of chanting. So difficult, so easy. It's not like going into the forest and performing Ashtanga yoga. Easy, but that itself takes time, because we are so contaminated in this Kali Yuga. Okay. Characteristics of Lord's supreme abode. Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. That abode is not illuminated by sun, moon, fire, or electricity. Once attained, one never returns to the material world. Okay, 15.7. Who would like to recite this one? Hare Krishna.
I can do it, Mataji. Can I?
Yes. Your audio is not very clear. There's some disturbance.
Oh, is it?
Is it only me, or others also have that? Isn't that some clarity is...
Okay, I'll recite this one and then you tell me if it's not clear then.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
I can switch places. Yeah. Mamaivaṁ jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Hare Krishna. Was it okay?
Yes, Mataji, that's okay. Thank you.
Audio was okay?
Yeah, it is, Mataji. It was okay. You can
Okay.
read the translation also.
Okay. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses which includes the mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So what is our identity actually? When you ask someone, tell me about yourself, that person will start talking, will say, I'm an engineer, I'm a manager, I'm this, I'm a doctor, I have done PhD. This is what we say. But what is our identity? After reading 15 chapters, the identity becomes clear. We are all fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We are all eternal. Sanatana, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Sanatana means eternally exist. And then, as per Vedic description, what happens? The Supreme Lord manifests, expands himself into so many different expansions. So, this is also clear. Primary expansion, secondary expansion, so many things are there. So, now what happens? The living entities, we are fragmental parts and parcels. We are separated, but we are nothing but servitors, eternal servitors of the Lord. We are actually, when we say servants, we should think like, why am I servant? Oh, I have to keep on serving the Lord. That's not how it is. We see in Krishna book also, if you see Bhagavatam, you see the kind of exchange they are having with the Lord. There's so much love. That kind of love we'll not see in this material world. The exchange like Yashoda Maya and Krishna, their relationship is so sweet. So he's getting bound by her. He's allowing her to bind him. There's so much sweetness there. And all the gopis, how they enjoy. All his friends also. Sometimes they are massaging his feet. He is also ready to massage their feet. There's so much love. So, but our position is such that we are actually serving him. We'll not become equal to him. That there is no, we should not. So a person starts envying Krishna, then his life is doomed. That envy is not there. They just love Krishna, they just serve him. He is ready to serve. He reciprocates millions of times more than us. If we do little bit also, he'll remember for eternity. Like how Draupadi, she just tore a piece of cloth, tied it on his tied it on his hand when there was a little cut. And he promised her that I'll be there when you need me. And he was there for her. He was the only one who could save her from that disgrace, right? They were pulling her clothes and all. So like that, we call it, it's a servant master relationship, but actually there's so much love. We just have to understand our position. That's all. We're nothing but eternal servitors. We forget this and then we start struggling. He's saying they're all struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind also. Mind is very important. If you want to progress, mind is very important. We have to keep it under control. There's one verse which explains that very beautifully. So, what is identity of a living entity now? It becomes very, very clear. Original position. Living entities are eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. They belong to the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. They are now struggling hard with mind and senses in material. Okay. Mamevamsho Jiva Loka. He says that, right? Mind is very important because it is like the chief agent. Prabhupada says it's like the chief agent which is driving us in this material existence. We are here because of this mind only. If the mind is in the mode of goodness, our activities are good. If the mind is in the mode of passion, all the activities are troublesome. And if it is in the mode of ignorance, what happens? Definitely nothing will work out properly. So in ignorance, we'll definitely go to the lower species of life. So we have to stay in the mode of goodness. We ourselves say sometimes, my mind is not good today. We understand sometimes when you're not feeling good, we actually know whether we are in the mode of passion or ignorance or goodness, mode of goodness. So we have to, the only way we can stay in the mode of goodness is by good association. If you're in the good association, consciousness also stays good, it stays pure. So it's very important. Association becomes very important. Associate with good books, associate with good, with devotees. Try to visit all the holy dhamas and all. So whatever we can, whole our whole entire day can be designed in such a way, like, make everything conducive for Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Who would like to recite this one?
I will recite.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. शरीरं यत अवाप्नोति यच्च अपि उत्क्रामति ईश्वरः गृहीत्वा एतानि संयाति वायुः गन्धान् इव आशयत्. The living entity in the material world carries its different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, it takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. We had gone through a similar analogy. Like the soul doesn't get contaminated. It's like the air passes through different places. It goes through a garden. It carries the aroma of flowers. Then it goes through garbage and it picks up that aroma. So it is like soul doesn't get contaminated. But here the same example is used in a different way. See, living entity, the material world carries these different conceptions of life. It is like if we make our consciousness like that of a cat, we'll definitely get a cat's body in our next birth. And if we are fixing our consciousness on godly qualities, what will happen? We might become demigod in our next birth. Prabhupada explains this. So it depends whether we want to go to Krishna Loka or the Vaikuntha planets or go to higher planets. It depends on our consciousness. Consciousness is very, very important. It actually, our next body is being designed because of our consciousness right now. So we have to fix our consciousness properly. Otherwise, we'll carry these different conceptions. Like if you are constantly behaving like a dog and thinking like a dog, dog is very, there was one slide in which it was given a very person who is very, very lusty is becoming a dog in his next birth. And a person who does not want to wear clothes will become a tree. She'll become a tree, he or she become a tree in the next birth. And a person who is eating meat constantly, can't give up meat, such a person will become a wild animal. Like this, our consciousness, the bodies are already, the design is already there. 84 lakhs species of life. Process of transmigration is explained. The living entity acquires a material mind and carries different conceptions of life from one body to the next. Analogy as the air carries aromas. So according to our karma, our subtle body actually carries the conception. Our subtle body goes with us. We give up the gross body, but our subtle body goes with us. It carries all this, and then only when we come across a person like Prabhupada or some elevated spiritual authority, only then, our consciousness starts clearing. And we have to follow their instructions. That's the only way. When we are in the classroom, we follow the teacher's instructions, just like that. In the spiritual journey also, we need a person who will, a coach, even in a material condition also, when we want to progress in football or whatever, playing sports all the time is just waste of time because human life is not meant for all that. But still, when we want to learn something, we'll find the best teacher possible. Same way, when we really want to exit this material world, come out of our miserable condition, we have to find the proper person who will actually give us proper knowledge. This is because he will actually push us towards good association. What is happening is, if you are among people who have good desires, positive vibrations, good desires, our desires also will get influenced. If we are in bad association, all their bad desires will actually influence us. It happens very fast. We can see with children also. The more they mingle with proper children, their behavior also changes. If they are in bad association, how fast they pick up things. So that is why we worry today about social media and all this, because they're so much into it. All the parents keep discussing that, right? They say, oh, my child, I don't want him getting into this and that. And we have to keep a watch on who they are meeting and how much time they are spending here and there. because that will influence their character, personality, future, everything. Just like that. We also have to be careful about our consciousness. Okay, can someone read this? Hare Krishna. We can do one more slide and stop because we finished half the chapter. The remaining half we'll do in the next session. Hare Krishna. Who would like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, tongue, and nose and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Another example is given in the purport. It is like our consciousness is originally pure. It's just like water. Water is so clear, but you mix some color in it. You put red color, the water becomes red color. Like that. If we contaminate our consciousness with some kind of material mentality, again, it's like dirt. So that will change everything. So our next birth, our next activity, our next what is going to happen? Because only devotional service can burn our sinful reactions also. Everything. Nothing. We must have accumulated so many sins from God knows from how many births. Everything can be changed just by surrendering to Krishna. That's it. It's such a simple process. But it does take hard work, a lot of hard work. Because there are rules to be followed. We are all doing sadhana, so it is like work. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch grouped about the mind. Okay. Srotram, chakshuhu means eyes, srotram is ear, sparsham, sense of touch, adhisthaya manas, situated in mind. Granam, nose, rasanam, tongue. Okay, we can do this one and maybe we can stop. You can, so this is not much to read actually. You can actually read the purports and come back. Prabhupada gives a lot of examples also. It's nice to read, very interesting. Please recite this one, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Utkramantam sitam papi bunjanam vagunanditam vimurhananupashyanti pashyanti jnanachakshushaha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body it enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. He's saying the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body. What exactly Krishna is trying to say? See, we see a person here, his car is not working, it's broken down. So he doesn't know what's happening here. See, when take this as an example. Now, car is not working. Will we take the car to a doctor, to a carpenter? No, we need a person who will understand why it is not working, who has knowledge about the engine, and we need to go to a mechanic or go to an engineer who understands and will fix this problem. So that's what he's saying. A foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body and what's happening. Foolish person will not understand. Now they can understand what sort of body they enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Only a person who is trained to repair, to fix this problem. We need such a person. So what does that mean is a person who has developed spiritual knowledge can see the spirit different from matter. He knows this is just a body. Inside the body, there is a soul. And he just knows it's just an external, it's like changing dress. He's looking at everything that way. And how, so this person is going to change. The moment we hear this person passed away, we understand he's just given up this body. Probably he'll take another body. He'll have that knowledge. Even Arjuna was also feeling very sad, right? It was Actually, he was crying. All these people are going to die. All my relatives. He didn't want that. But then Krishna said, these are all, you are lamenting for something that you should not. They're all, going to get another body. Don't have to worry. All this is my plan. And we gave so much more information. So only those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness can give proper knowledge. Like Prabhupada can actually teach us how to see everything like this. Jnana chakshushaha. The word jnana chakshusha, which is without knowledge, we cannot see anything properly. See, this person could not understand. He was kind of, you see him, and then the mechanic came and he immediately understands what's happening. So it's like that. With proper knowledge, we actually understand how the whole world, how the entire material world is functioning. Everything becomes clear. And there won't be any duality also. Happiness, sadness, all this. So we'll do one thing. We'll stop at this. This is a very beautiful verse. We'll discuss from here in the next session. So I'll just stop.